So we came up with some themes for the play, which were escape, the immoral women, and class conflicts. First of all, escape. That's shown in how the bird wants to escape the cage that Miss Julie puts on the bird in. And then how Miss Julie and John both want to leave the estate for Italy at the end of the play. And then escape is also shown in the play when Christine, when given the opportunity, leaves the estate because she just doesn't want to deal with Miss Julie anymore. And then the immoral woman theme is shown in the play because Miss Julie breaks off multiple engagements with fiancés. She also tries to seduce John, who's below her class. And then Miss Julie's mother tells her to hate men just because she was treated poorly. And then class conflict is also shown in the play because Miss Julie does not feel a sense of belonging with any class. And there's an affair between people of different classes between John and Miss Julie.
For those of you who are unfamiliar with the play Miss Julie, here's just a brief overview of some of the important details. So Miss Julie is a naturalistic play, which means that the settings and costumes are made to be as realistic as possible. And the play was written in 1888, and so the play is going to be set at that time period too. And since this is a naturalistic play, the conversations are also trying to be as realistic as possible, and it deals with some issues such as class, which is really a big theme in Miss Julie. So this is just a picture from a play of Miss Julie. So as you can see, the stairs and the tables all look realistic, and the costumes are also realistic. So that's what we are trying to go for with our play as well. The naturalistic movement was heavily inspired by Darwinism, and Miss Julie falls into that category too. And so Darwinism is the belief of the survival of the fittest. People were inspired by this when Charles Darwin published his book in 1859 called The Origin of the Species. So they created the new philosophical movement known as naturalism, which is the play style Miss Julie falls into. So there have been some other adaptations to the play Miss Julie. So for example, it has been shown on Broadway twice. The first time was in 1913, and the second time was in 1963. And there was also a movie in 2014, which starred Jessica Chastain as Miss Julie and Colin Farrell as Jean, which this picture is the official movie poster that came out when it was released in theaters. So the playwright for this play is August Strindberg, and he lived from 1849 to 1912. And over the course of 4 decades, he wrote over 60 plays, and specifically this play is set in a Swedish estate, and that's his home country. And sometime during the 1880s, Strindberg discovered naturalism, and this inspired him to write Miss Julie in 1888. This also did become one of his most famous productions. So when he was writing this play, the main goal he was trying to get across is he wanted to write a play about how Darwinism prevented a sexual relationship due to different class levels. For example, Miss Julie is at a higher up class than Jean. So he was heavily inspired by the conflict between sexes that was going on in the 1880s. And so he shows that through Miss Julie, along with some of his other notable works, such as The Father and The Creditors. He used these to speak out against social conventions that were really going on during this time. And it launched a new movement in European drama, which shows how much impact his work really had. So a quote I found to just go with that was, "A man with so-called character is often a simple piece of mechanism. He is often only one point of view for the extremely complicated relationships of life." That's basically showing that our pre-existing thoughts kind of cause this conflict between sexes, and that's the problem in society even back then. So the protagonist of this play is Miss Julie, and she's 25 years old. She's the daughter of the Count, although her mother was a servant. So this means that she kind of has a hard time finding out what class she really fits into. And for most of her life, her mother raised her to act and to think like a man. So that's probably why she acts the way she does in this play. Jean is the servant to the Count. And it said that he's engaged to another servant named Christine. But throughout the play, he's constantly seen flirting with Miss Julie. And even though he's a servant, he likes to speak as if he's higher up than what his social status actually is. So an example of the environment can be seen when he fears the sound of the bell ringing, because it shows that he's a prisoner to the sound of the bell, and it shows that the Count is going to be summoning him to fulfill his needs. And Christine is the cook to the Count. She is extremely religious, and it's said that she's engaged to John. However, there is actually the possibility that this could be a joke because of the way that she and John speak of it, like it's not actually that serious. And she does not really think highly of Miss Julie at all. And she believes that Miss Julie acts the way she does because she's on her period during the time the play is going on. And the fourth character is the Count, who's never actually seen on stage, so he's represented by this picture of a bell. So he's the head of the estate and Miss Julie's father. The sound of the bell is used to represent his presence. And also, the audience is reminded of how much power he really has because his gloves and boots are visibly seen on stage throughout the play.
Okay, so I had this scene design. So a big thing throughout the play would be the significance of the bell. This bell runs Jean's life. He is a servant, he is a prisoner to the bell. So I want it to be a Swedish bell, like from that time period, which is seen here. And I want it to be hanging over the doorway to just kind of drive home the fact that regardless of what Jean does, he has to go under that bell, which kind of denotes his class as being lower than the Count. And also, it just serves as a constant reminder of being there. I think I'd also like to put a bell in the bird cage, something that looks like this with maybe a red ribbon, because red, as I talk about later, will be a major theme in this play. But I think that if we have the bell in the bird cage, it kind of symbolizes that the Count owns it, going back to that significance of the bell. And then when Jean kills the bird, he's trying to kind of kill something that the Count owns by like going under the bell again. So in there we have a bird cage, and I really want to drive home the feeling of the bird being trapped, but also John and Miss Julie feeling trapped. John by his social class and where he stands, and the fact that he can't get out even though he speaks probably better than most servants do. And Julie feels trapped where she can't fit in with either class, but she really wants to, but she just can't break free. And even though they have this big elaborate plan, they don't actually go through with it because they just can't break free of these chains. Next, I have the stairs. I want the stairs to be descending into the servant quarters, which is actually something Strindberg did mention in his stage directions. I want the stairs to look worn like this middle picture, because they're used a lot by all of the servants and they have to go up and down to address the Count's need. I think I would like it to look like these stairs where they're kind of just coming in the back. These are some more modern stairs, but this is what I would like to look like. Or even these stairs where there's a little bit of a corner turn in there, just to drive home that fact that they are below in both social class and both like physical position. I would also like the stairs to be brown, like a very mundane color, because even though they live in a Count's house and everything like that, it's still going to be used every day. So it's not like they need to be a very elaborate color. For our color scheme, we want to really focus on the promiscuity of the play, because at the time the play was written, it was a very scandalous play. Like Josiah talked about, you know, the whole immoral women and all that kind of thing. So we would like red to be a major theme throughout the color. We're going to have some red flowers. The carpet will be a faded red. The curtains will be red. All of that will be red. So we're going to have some of the Swedish flowers in the red and that kind of thing in the behind the windows that are on scene. We're also going to have red when John kills the bird. So red kind of symbolizes the blood and like John's attempt to break free of the Count's control in his life. However, we would also like to incorporate some blue into the play, especially when it comes to Miss Julie and her scenes, because some of her actions seem a little bit childish. You know, she doesn't know where she wants to be and all that kind of thing. So having blue be in there, that kind of childish light color, would really drive home the fact that we want to get across with her. In addition to the props mentioned above, I'd like to have some pots and pans hanging above the stove, because Christine is the cook, so she needs to have some cooking appliances. Also, the stove will have a Swedish style and will be in the center of the set. I want that to be a main piece. It will be a bit bigger than the stove I have here, because Christine will have a little bit more room to work with. I would also like there to be a Swedish spice rack off to the side. Strindberg does allude to there being a spice jar of sorts, so something like this would really drive home the fact that it is based in Sweden. The flowers could also be painted red to go along with our theme. I would also like to incorporate some Swedish cups. And in particular, I would love the servants' cups to maybe have a chip in there, or like the colors to be more faded, because it shows that the servants get what the hand-me-downs are from the count. Again, just driving home that theory of social class. And then in the corner, I would like the count's boots and gloves to be not the main part of the stage, but to still be there and have a very high, powerful presence there, because it just, again, shows the count and all of his control over everything that is around him. For the table and chairs, they're not actually going to match. They're going to be a little bit mismatched because, once again, like with the cups, we're going to have it show the different social class and how the servants just get the hand-me-downs. I think that the chairs, maybe one being red and one being blue to kind of fit with our color scheme, would be awesome. I do want some antique style Swedish chairs and tables. These ones are pretty pricey, but I'm sure we could find something that is a little less expensive. But they need to be mismatched, and they can also move throughout the scene and that kind of thing, so they're movable, and as the scene goes on and as Jean kisses Miss Julie's feet and that kind of thing, we can work around that. The table is going to be in the center of the stage in front of the stove, but there's going to be enough room between the stove and the table that the characters can easily move around. For the lighting, it is set over as like it's getting closer and closer to dark. So I want the light to kind of dim as we go down. And as it gets darker outside, it's gonna have to get lighter inside, or maybe a more warm color, just to drive home the candlelight and that kind of thing. Behind the windows, there's going to be a Swedish landscape, or Strindberg did also mention a statue with a fountain of Cupid with some lilac bushes in there, so that would be behind the double doors that lead out into the garden. Strindberg did have specific instructions, so he would like there to be an icebox, a wash basin, and a sink, because it is a kitchen, so you need all of those things. So that will always be present on stage. Those won't move. They'll just kind of be in the corner, but they do need to be present. There will also be birch leaves on the stove and juniper twigs on the floor, which I did not insert here, but we can do that when we make the production. And also, I would like there to be a rug that is worn out, it's faded, it's torn a little in some places, and it's going to be red to stick with our theme. Here's my floor plan for what I want it to look like. You can see we have the table and the stove behind it with the rug in front. The stairs are off to the left, coming in from the left wall with the shelves, and then there's some countertops and the different servants and that kind of thing. And then here are some of my really beautiful sketches, because I'm just an artist. August Strindberg did say that he would like some Dutch tiling to be behind the stove, so that's what this is right here, would be some Dutch tiling with some sage leaves and juniper twigs.
Okay, so I had the pleasure of doing the costume designing for this play. And first I want to start off with Miss Julie. Okay, so since Miss Julie has more of like a childish kind of like personality during the play, I wanted to make that theme of the blue being childish a main part of her dress. And so since the play is in like the 1880s, sorry. I wanted to kind of stick with like the long ball gowns, pretty elegant and stuff like that. But with like the skirt part, I kind of wanted to make it like bell-shaped. That also represents like what the Count owns, like Caroline stated in her presentation about the bells. So I kind of wanted to make it a little bit more bell-shaped, and so that's what I did with that. And I also wanted to add in ribbons because my opinion, they're also kind of childish. But I also wanted her to be a little bit more promiscuous. So I added like a lower neckline. And I wanted her hair down and kind of messy and just like not really done, because like, again, she's like, she doesn't know which social class she's in. And so I wanted to kind of show that also. And so next is John. So with John, my main reference was obviously the 2014 movie version. It was my rendering was heavily influenced by that. And so during that time, high collars and the vests were very prompt in fashion at that time, and the high boots to show, because John wasn't of high class, but he wanted to be viewed that way. So I wanted his clothes to be a little bit more nicer and more prestigious kind of. So next is Christine. And since Christine is like the maid and such, she has her apron and her hair is messy because she's always working and just keeping up with the house. And she has a long sleeve shirt, and she's a little bit more covered up because she's religious and she doesn't want to show anything.
So for the press kit, for the publicist role that I came up with, to start out, we had a press release. This will be distributed to the public. This will look like, this will include the director, like we shared the role of director. It will give a cast roles, the location, the time, and just any info that the public needs. And then next we will have the poster. And this poster includes the bird cage, the location, the date. I put red because red is one of our themes of our production, and also goes along with Northwestern. And this will be on the social media and the publicist press release as well. And then next we have the public service announcement. This will be distributed on like social media, on like Twitter and Instagram. We'll include a message like this that says like calling all lovers of the arts, again, the cost, the date, just a description of the plot and any interest that the public might have. And then next we have the biographies. These will just be short information clips about each person and the roles. So to start out, we have Josiah, just a description of his year at Northwestern, his major, his favorite actor, and then just an info on how he generated the research for dramaturge. And then next we have Caroline, again, just description of the actors, her year, and then how she came up with the creative design. Next we have Maddie, who used drawings, photographs, and pieces of fabric to compile the ideas for the costumes. And then finally, we have the picture of me. And this is just telling the readers about how I publicized the play and marketed the play. And then finally, we will have the mailing list. This will go out to Northwestern College students, the local community, and then theater and history lovers, because Northwestern students should receive emails and see posters around campus. The local community will want to see a fantastic play without having to drive a far distance. And then just in general, theater lovers will want to catch this production, and they will see this through an eye-catching PSA on social media. And then finally, we have a promotional gimmick. When audience walking into the play, they will be able to purchase raffles in order to win like a prize related to the play. And a memorable part of the play is the bird cage. So we will give out kind of a toy bird cage for the audience. And this will wrap up our presentation of Miss Julie.